Hi, Chris Paff from Chris Paff Tech Media LLC, back here in the fabulous Blue Room at Gamla Logen, and we had a fabulous lunch. Now we're about to have a fabulous conversation with Anders Hessel, who is the CEO and founder of Nenda from Stockholm. Welcome to you, Anders.
Thank you very much, Chris.
You have a very interesting background, particularly in telecom, and it's very interesting to see how that's really been a leading part of the Swedish streaming TV industry. So talk about that, and then please tell us about what Nenda is and what you're doing with it today.
Yeah, so basically working as a management consultant, strategy consultant for a lot of different telcos, I ended up after that at Telenor, working with content acquisition and strategy. So basically one of those guys sitting, negotiating deals and so on. And that was part-time. Part-time of that was business development and strategy for the different business units within Telenor. And that's also where the idea kind of came about at Nenda. I wanted to do it outside of that space because it was difficult to get through with the politics, conflict in P&Ls and stuff like that. But so in 2019, I started Nenda together with two colleagues or friends. And Nenda is basically, what we do is that we try to combine streaming technology, cloud infrastructure, and signal delivery as a modularized technology together with content, as we call purpose content. So we tailor those different content with the technology so that we can provide tailored services to different segments within the B2B segments. So we're basically working with all screens that are not at people's homes. So it's hotels, elder care, hospitals, gyms, restaurants, and so on. So instead of pushing linear TV channels and technology that is hardware-based, we look to the needs for the companies and the different segments, and then we try to put together a service or an ecosystem which brings more value to them so we can capitalize on that in new ways.
Well, look, that is, to me, a fabulous business. We're quite familiar with Atmosphere TV.
Exactly.
Blake Sabatinelli, who I've known for many years, and they just hit some new huge milestone. Captivate as well, which is done a remarkable job. And this is even during this pandemic period that we're talking about. So I'm curious, how much of what you've done, and you launched in 2019, how much of Nenda was really incubated inside of Telenor? I'm just curious.
Telenor, there was basically, back then, it was linear channels only. And incubated into Telenor, nothing of my ideas were incubated during that time. I quit my job there, and then I started.
Oh, so it was a hard.
It was a hard stop. Okay. Hard stop.
Yeah, so, but your timing was amazing.
Both yes and no. Then we built everything the first year, and then in 2020, we had built the service. It took only on 1 year to build a full streaming service, like a Netflix-ish look and everything, but more scaled down, easy to understand and use. We did the content deals with major broadcasters, which no one else had done before, especially at those terms that we got. And we were talking to big customers in the Nordics, and we were to do proof of concept with a chain, and pandemic hit. They went from 85% occupancy rate to 5% over 1 week, and we had to stall that. So that's about how we started with hotels, but then we realized that the same need is also in care segment, as we define it, for elder care and so on. And we tried that out, and we found that it was not only a better service without the hardware investment, it was also that we made it so much more operational efficient for the operations in every care home. And so that was kind of a jackpot. So we started there and got some big customers and so on. And then started to legitimize everything. But basically the last 2 years, we started selling that for real. And then we just ended up starting doing this also to gyms and restaurants. And it's fun that you say atmosphere as well, because we know about the atmosphere, even though they've been around for longer than that.
It's an amazing thing that points also to where niche content, whether it's short form or however you want to define short form, lives with and it's not just young audiences, but that became just a thing.
Exactly, and I admire people that think outside the box and build something from a completely new perspective and just get it. And I think that is what I try to do to spur that kind of ideas today, because if you think about the TV industry as you've always done, we're going to keep selling linear TV channels in OTT apps, and it's going to not be any differentiation. Everyone tries to do the same. But if you think about it in a completely different way and come from the other side of it and think about the needs in specific niches, like B2B is one niche, but then you have different niches within that niche, which are massive opportunities. If you can address those needs in those, then you have something new to actually bring to the market that can be a very good business.
It really is, but it speaks to serving that customer. Again,
Absolutely.
as you said, the all you can eat, and paying for all you can eat when you're only eating 1/10 of that is a problem. And you're in this real direct to consumer, but the consumer may be from a B2B play as well, which is interesting.
Exactly. So our customers are the businesses,
right?
But it needs to be a high value for the end consumer. Otherwise, it's not a value for our customers.
Yeah, it's interesting because I want to go back to your background. I mean, you were on the M&A side, you were on the deal side at Telenor, which has a long history of doing some great things. And also, I mean, you're now a Telenor alum who's an entrepreneur. I launched Thumbplay 1 million years ago with Are Trastal, and that was kind of born a little bit inside of Telenor, or maybe not even really, but that was his experience, and so I find that you're leveraging this amazing DNA in the broader Nordic telecom market. Do you see that being something that some people here take for granted?
Absolutely. Just the insight that we have so much internet connectivity. Other countries doesn't have that. We take that for granted. So when you think about OTT services here, we see it like, it can be applied everywhere because we have the infrastructure for it. But that's also why it's really interesting about Nordic kind of ecosystem, that it's a great start. Other countries will absolutely do the same thing after time, but to start somewhere where it's really already the infrastructure for it is there, in a small market, which is quite secure.
You're saying what I've been saying for years, which is that you have, this dream scenario of like this laboratory, this test bed that is so progressive. The operators, even the pubcasters, it's like, and there's that cohesion. So I really love to look at what you're doing as a very interesting test case for the idea that, we've seen everything, and even I have a question I'll ask you about fast channels in a second, but I find that you may be a leading indicator of even more ventures in this broader digital TV space in the Nordics to come.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be a fantastic thing to feel like someone got spurred to do new things.
Have you taken on outside capital?
Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm. Can you mention your investors?
We mostly have business angels.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. Swedish?
Yes.
Okay.
And they come from the industry. Many people that's been CEOs
maybe
for
Anders Jensen's involved.
He's not actually.
Oh, okay.
But many others. If you keep name dropping, then
right.
I can't. Then I
well, I'll name drop another VC more for something that he said about 8 years ago in New York, and that's PJ Persson from North Zone, who said, now I'm going to freak out all the Americans. Why is Sweden, so great in the digital space? And he said, because in the early to mid 90s, it was the unions in Sweden who said, we want a computer in everyone's home, and that really helped spur,
Absolutely,
basically a nation that was going to be ahead of the curve, if you will. And so I always think of that line when I think of what happens in Sweden, even more than some of the things that are obvious.
And we were nothing in that space before. And so that generation grew up with that. That's the Daniel X, those are the ones. So something that someone did back in the 90s had this ripple effect, creating this ecosystem that we have today in the Nordics is just unbelievable. And for me, to have the chance also there's been the people that are 10 years older than me, to get inspired by them building these massive unicorns and everything, that's fantastic to have that.
And even smaller ventures that are really seminal. I mean, more name dropping, and maybe you've worked with some of these companies I'm about to mention, but VN Labs, Arash Pandari, we're big fans of what they do there, and David Mule at Play Pilot. Big fans. Yeah. Really, and these are Stockholm companies, probably walking distance from you.
Yeah, and it's a small world, and when it comes to media and streaming media and so on, we all know each other basically, or otherwise you definitely have someone in your close environment that actually knows all these people. So yes, to ask your people around you, do you know anyone who knows this? And it's basically always someone can help you to introduce yourself to one another. So that is something I believe is really, really good in the Stockholm ecosystem, because it's small, but the competence is still there. So it's close and people want to help each other.
That's great. And let's get back to the fast channel question, because of course I see that as being linear TV over IP.
Yeah.
Do you find that complementary in a way to Nenda?
Yeah, for me, fast channel is it's basically programmatic ads or in a linear channel. So it's basically for me a traditional pay TV linear channel with advertising. It's just a new way to capitalize on it, or it's the same way of capitalizing its ads, but it's a new technology behind it, which makes it more accessible to many. So yeah, I see it as a format for content where it's a good viewing behavior, or it's good for the consumer to actually watch something in linear. I think it could be a great way to have fast channels. However, I don't believe fast channel is the savior or anything like that for the industry, and it's also a risk with that hype right now. What we all want to do is to consolidate good content, but now we start fragmenting instead. So content discovery becomes even more difficult, because it's all about the best content and the user to find the best content. So there's pros and cons with all this, but I believe it could work very well for some businesses, yes.
But you're doing something that I think addresses a lot of needs for companies, particularly in this very brand conscious and video centric universe that we're in.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a huge benefit. I want to ask you about your relationship with Northern Waves. Have you been here before?
I've never been to Northern Waves, but I know the guys at Norigin, good guys, so I like them. So when I got the questions to come here, then yeah, for sure, happy to be here and share my ideas to others.
Great, and we're happy to have you as well. Anders Hessel from Nenda, thank you.
Thank you very much.